Will he or won't he? Former President Trump teased out a potential 2024 run at CPAC this weekend. Here with a little insight is someone who gave the closing speech at CPAC and might know a little something about that thinking. Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization, Don Trump Jr. Don, always good to see you.
Good to be with you, Sean. How are you?
Good. You know, I've heard a lot of your dad's speeches. That speech at CPAC, man, knocked it out of the park. That's as close as I've ever heard him come to talking about 2024. Tell me, I mean, are we reading too much into this thing, or is he leaning a lot more into 2024 than he has before?
Well, listen, I think he's leaning into the notions because he's probably on perhaps the world's greatest I told you so tour. Everything the media lied to you about that Donald Trump was happens to be exactly what Joe Biden is. Notice how Russia invaded sovereign nations under Bush, under Obama. They paused for 4 years under Trump, under now Biden. You know, you see what's going on in inflation. You see the disaster in the humanitarian crisis at the border, what's going on there, whether it be drug trafficking, just human trafficking, all of the above going on there. And I think Americans understand that Donald Trump was right. And again, he may not be the villain they made him out to be. So, you know, obviously he's going to play it by ear. A lot can happen in the next year or two before you actually have to make a decision. But I think he understands that he's the guy that has been proven right. Everything that they said, everything that was called a conspiracy theory, 6 months later is proven to be 100% right in favor of Donald Trump.
Don, a lot of people are talking about the shift in tone from his speech. We saw him focused. It seemed like he sounded very presidential. He even at one point said that he didn't want to see Biden fail. Watch this.
Joe Biden is seen as a weak, and I hate to say it because I want him to do a great job. I really want him to do. Politically, I don't care. I would much rather have him do a great job than a poor job. But nobody could ever believe how bad and weak and grossly incompetent it has been.
All right, so was this tone shift a one-off, or is this a new strategy for him moving forward?
No, I think he's an American. You know, he didn't get into politics because he needed to be a politician. That's what all the politicians do. They have nowhere else to go. They have no other skill set, so they're politicians. He got into that game after a storied residential development career, after numerous successes on television and pretty much everything that he ever did, because he saw the disasters that were going on and the decisions that were being made by career politicians. That's why he got in the game. He wants America to succeed. He's an American first and foremost. So, you know, I don't know that it's a change in tone. It may not be typical of him to say, but that's the reality. That's why he got into this, to fight for the hardworking men and women of America who are watching their American dream, their livelihoods, and everything else be decimated on a global scale in a short period of time. I mean, I don't think anyone looked at Joe Biden and said, well, this guy's really going to be great. He's done such a wonderful job in Washington, D.C. for the last 50 years. That doesn't mean you don't want him to still be successful, because we live in this country. My father's kids and his grandchildren, they live in this country. They're Americans first and foremost. We want them to succeed. It's not going to happen under Joe Biden, unfortunately, but no one would like it more than him.
You know, Don, a new ABC Washington Post poll came out over the weekend, showed President Biden's approval rating just literally tanking at 37%. But I thought that there was an interesting piece of the poll that didn't get a lot of play yet. It showed that 54% of Americans don't think Biden has what they call the mental sharpness it takes to serve as president. And that includes 59% of independents. Now, it's one thing for like conservatives to talk about this idea of cognitive ability and mental fitness, but this is the Washington Post and ABC conducting this poll. I feel like there's an admission almost by the Washington Post and ABC, by just putting this question in there, that there's an acknowledgement that this is a problem.
Sean, the other 40% of people who don't see it are morons. Okay. Now, everyone saw it a year ago. Everyone saw it for the last 2 years. There's a reason they hid him in the basement. I wrote Liberal Privilege, the book about just this. I'm like, here's what it is. You have the doctors on the record questioning the multiple brain aneurysms. I'm not faulting them. I mean, they did whatever they could to cover it up. It's not like they didn't know. But they could put Joe Biden out there. Oh, he's a nice guy. You know, as dumb as he may be, you're not going to root it. You don't hate him. You know, people viscerally hated Hillary Clinton. They chose Joe Biden and went a different route, not because he's some sort of strategic genius, but because people can't hate him. But everyone saw this, Sean. This is nothing new. This is not a surprise. You know, people have called him the dumbest person in the United States Senate for 40-something years. There's nothing new at all, other than now they're saying, oh, wow, we had no idea. Trust me, they knew. They just didn't care, and they could sell a different image to the American people. That's why he never took questions from the press. That's why they hid him in a basement. That's why his team would always interrupt them the second they started speaking, because if you listen to him talk, if you watch him on a world stage, you realize he is not up to this task, unfortunately.
I do want to switch gears with you to the crisis in Ukraine and Europe and play a clip of your father issuing a warning about Europe being held captive to Russia's oil back in 2018 for our audience. Watch this.
We're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries. And then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate.
So he was obviously right there, but I've heard a lot of people saying how your father cozied up to Putin, how he was too friendly with him. But there was peace for 4 years, as many people are realizing now what a big deal that was. Do you think that people mistake your father's business-like strategy with Putin and with Xi to a friendship?
I think they do on purpose, right? I mean, he understands what's going on. You want to make sure that those the lines of communications are over, so you can go on a world stage and ridicule someone and then never be able to pick up the phone when you actually need it, like in the time of an invasion of a sovereign nation in Europe. But again, you know, I don't think that this is something that everyone didn't know, but they could use it to hit Trump, because the media isn't about actually getting the news out there. The media was out there trying to deliver a narrative. Everyone sees it right now. The U.S. was energy independent under my father. The media spent months telling you that Joe Biden wasn't going to change that because he was going to do the right thing for the hardworking men and women of this country. On day one, he signed an executive order ending the Keystone Pipeline and other ways. And so now we're spending tens of millions of dollars a day bringing in Russian oil and gas to the United States. So we're giving them that lifeline. Germany has done the same thing with Nord Stream 2, which which my father's administration was able to delay and stall. So Germany is going to give Russia millions of dollars. And by the way, the keys to the kingdom, because they're totally dependent on that Russian oil and gas for their own survival. Then they asked the United States for billions more in NATO funding to support themselves. So now that they realize, wait a second, there's a real problem here. Russia just invaded a sovereign country. Maybe we're next. Where have we seen this play out before? Maybe we're next. So now they're going to do some really serious things. You know, I can't tell if these people are clowns, if they're morons and they just don't know what's going on, or again, maybe they just dislike Trump so much because he put America first, because he didn't just kowtow to them, because he wanted to hold them accountable and actually pay up their dues in NATO. Now they're saying, magically, they watch Russia invade Ukraine. Now they're saying, hey, Trump got us to do it. Then we went back to not paying anything. Now that it's happening in Ukraine, maybe we should put our money into NATO and put this money out there. I mean, it's asinine what's going on. And it's amazing that the people at the New York Times, the Washington Post, and all of these great, bastions of journalism aren't calling out the nonsense and giving Trump the credit where it's due. Because if it wasn't for Trump, they would have never even seen the problems until it was too late. Now they know it's too late because they refuse to do anything about it.
Yeah. Don, before I let you go real quick, there was two parts to the straw poll down at CPAC. And the second part said, if Donald Trump doesn't run, who is your top choice? And Donald Trump Jr. came in big. So the question is, if your dad doesn't run, what do you think about 2024? Real quick.
I don't know. I like being in the fight. I like being out there. I think the one problem is I'm the only guy in the straw poll that didn't get to speak before the straw poll was conducted because I was the last speaker. So the straw poll came out. So I'm calling. I needed to be out there. Like, let me talk to the people. I'm in a poll, but they saw everyone else speak except for me. But no, listen.
Well, I think you still did pretty well.
That's fine.
You
It's
still
not
did
as
pretty
good as
well.
I'd like, but I'm a Trump. I'm never going to be satisfied unless I have an absolute win there, Sean. You know me well enough. But no, all kidding aside, honestly, it's like an honor just to even be considered, right? That people see someone like myself who doesn't need this either. And I got sort of brought into it. But again, I have 5 young kids. I'm fighting for them and for their future and for a country and freedoms and things I actually believe in. I get that for the media, they believe in democracy, except when it goes against the liberal narrative, right? I actually believe in this stuff. It means something to me. So it's an honor just to be considered, as a fighter for those same beliefs.
All right. Well, hopefully we have a Trump on the ballot in 2024. Don, thanks for being with us as always.
Thanks a lot, guys. Good to be with you.